this man. Could this scripture suggest that Jesus had no intentions of healing this man? Now, I know I just messed up somebody's theology right there, but I can imagine that every now and then, God gets tired of delivering us out of the same situations over and over again. Do I really need to save you from that relationship when you know he wasn't good for you in the first place? Do I really need to provide for you when it's clear that you have not learned how to be a good steward? Do I really need to keep this F from showing up on your exam when good Lord knows you did not study? Do I really need to keep this foreclosure notice from showing up inside of your house when you prefer to spend your money on designer clothes and fancy weaves than paying your mortgage and your rent on time? Do I really need to keep this pink slip from finding its way across your desk when before lunchtime tomorrow you'll show up late, cuss out your boss, gossip about your co-workers, and take company supplies? They're not going to miss this. Do I really need to bring you out of darkness when some of us are content living the dark situations that we're in? This scripture, after I read it, Pastor, brought a new meaning to life. This scripture allowed me to realize that regardless of how God feels, I'm glad that God does not get tired of blessing me. I'm glad that God does not get tired of taking care of me. I'm glad that God does not get tired of providing for me. I'm glad that God does not get tired of healing me. I'm glad that God does not get tired of delivering me. I'm glad that God does not get tired of reaching way down inside of the mud, the dirt, and the mire in order to pick me up from somebody. This scripture brought new meaning to light. Something that my grandmama used to say, the fact that he didn't have to do it, but I'm so glad. So glad that he did. I feel like preaching now. Jesus is on vacation. He heals a girl a few verses earlier. He's met by a deaf man with a speech impediment. He takes the man aside, places his fingers in his ear, he places spit on his tongue, and lets out a mighty groan and says, "Ephphatha," that is, be open. Although Jesus was making an attempt to get away, his vacation was disturbed by the fulfillment of an act of God. Pastor, about a month ago, we were scheduled to take a trip to D.C. in order to view the dedication of the Martin Luther King monument on the National Mall in D.C. Little did we know that the week prior that an earthquake would hit the area. Also, we did not know that on that Saturday that a tornado would sweep through the city and would ultimately cause for the cancellation of the dedication. As we began to cancel the trip, I was very afraid, very scared, and very nervous. How would the bus company feel? How would the hotel company handle the fact that we were canceling our reservation with less than a 24-hour notice? Well, I didn't get the same result from the bus company. But as I picked up the phone and called the hotel, Chris answered the phone, and I said, "Chris?" He said, "Yes, Pastor Dandridge." I said, "Well, you know the situation. It seems as though they're going to cancel the dedication this weekend. So what do I have to do? How much will we be charged? What's going on? How do I cancel this reservation?" He said, "Well, don't worry about it, Pastor Dandridge, because inside of the fine print of the contract, because this situation was deemed an act of God, we would not be charged for the hotel." You're clapping too early, saints, because this reminded me of a trip that the devil had planned for some of our lives. A plane ride to poverty, a cruise ship to craziness, a train ride to trials and tribulations, a boat ride to bitterness, a car trip to chaos. He booked our tribulations on Travelocity, and he expedited our worry on Expedia. But what the devil did not realize was that there was a clause in his agreement. Any act of God would cancel the devil's plans at no cost to you. On Calvary, an act act of God saved my soul. On Calvary, an act of God delivered me. On Calvary, an act of God healed my body. And on Calvary, an act of God cleansed me of my iniquities. And just like this man, an act of God opened me up to the grace, love, and mercy of salvation. Is there anybody in here glad that while the devil had you on a path to destruction, God had a detour set for your salvation? I got to get out of here, church. But I had one more question for the text. I had one more question for the text. I said, text. The text said, yes, Wendel. I said, be open appears to be the command for the stop of ears that were deaf. How did be open equate to the man's speech being rectified? God told me to tell somebody that the intent be open had a dual intention. The first intention was a command for the deaf ears of the man to be open. Now watch this. The second intention was for the man to open up his mouth in order to validate that the miracle had been done. Mind you, this man had a speech impediment. So for him to say be open, the man would be expected to respond in order to show that he could hear and that his speech had been corrected. Good morning, church. God is waiting on some people to open up your mouth and validate the miracle that God has done in your life, because what God accomplished when he encountered disease, demons, and death was absolutely indisputable. What he accomplished when dealing with the weather, winds, and waves was certainly inapprehensible. When confronting sin, Satan, and suffering was positively incomprehensible. And when handling trials, tribulations, and troubles was surely incredible. When meeting frustration, fears, and failures was indisputably insurmountable. And what he accomplished in my life, I don't know about you, was absolutely incredible. I don't know about you, but somebody in here needs to turn to somebody, open up your mouth and tell them of the miracles, the great things, the miraculous doings that God has done in your life, because we find out that whenever and wherever God is present, the uncommon happens. Wherever God is present, the unusual occurs. Wherever God is present, the unbelievable transpires. Wherever God is present, the unexplainable is resulted. Wherever God is present, the unpredictable surfaces. Wherever God is present, the unsurpassable emerges. And whenever God is present, I don't know about you, but I realize that the unexpected happens. I didn't know he was going to bring me out. I didn't know he was going to provide for me. But I'm so glad that I stepped back one day and I realized that God, whatever it is that you want to do in my life, I'll do it for you. However it is you want to use me, I'll be used by you. And if it means me going through hell, if it means me going through high water, if it means me having to go check by check, if it means me having to be sick, if it means me having to be unemployed, if it means me having to be homeless, I guarantee you that once you open up the floodgates of heaven and pour out a blessing for me, I guarantee you I'll give your name praise, I'll give your name honor, I'll give your name glory, because only you. I just dare 5 people to just open up your mouth and give God a mighty shout of praise. Open your mouth. Open up. Be open. Be open. Be open. Be open. God, we're available. We want to be open unto you. Use us, oh God, for the burning of your kingdom.